Homeless shelters officially reached their capacity. Thanks everyone for joining us on this Friday, and welcome to Western Mass News at 5. I'm Chris Pisano.
And I'm Abby Carnevale. Are cold temps to blame or the state's ongoing migrant crisis? Western Mass News reporter Reagan Lokri joins us live in studio after getting answers. And Reagan, what are you hearing from those closest to the issue?
Yeah, Abby and Chris, I spoke to two different leaders in the Western Mass community. One of them saying the statewide migrant issue has significantly strained shelters, but the other says strained resources has been an issue long before the migrant crisis.
Springfield is the latest community to join the growing number of cities and towns across the state that have reached their shelter system capacity. Western Mass News spoke with the city's Health and Human Services Commissioner Helen Colton-Harris. She tells us during last week's cold spell, they struggled to get those in need indoors. She tells Western Mass News in a statement, "During the cold weather we experienced last week, all of the hotels in the city were filled and the shelters were at capacity. No one was turned away. However, the lack of beds gave the shelters no choice but to have people sleep on chairs." Western Mass News spoke with representatives from Craig's Doors, an organization that serves the homeless population across Western Mass, particularly in Hampshire County, where they have 3 shelter locations across Amherst and Hadley. Director of Operations Jay Stables tells us they have been experiencing similar capacity issues.
Same thing, basically sleep in chairs to get them out of the weather. And then we also operate a hotel stays program where we put people into hotels to get them out of the conditions. But even that, we are turning people away from our shelter sites because we don't have beds.
Colton-Harris says overflowing shelters are not just a Springfield issue. And she says the cold weather isn't all to blame. She tells me the recent uptick in migrant families has inundated shelters and drained resources across the state. And although Stables agrees cold weather isn't the only thing to blame, both she and Craig's Doors Executive Director Tim McCarthy believe the homelessness issue in Massachusetts is not a sole reflection of the current migrant crisis as far as they see it in Hampshire County.
The numbers speak for themselves, that the realities surrounding that particular topic are very real, but we've been dealing with a lack of capacity, overflowed shelters long before those buses were showing up in Massachusetts.
McCarthy adds it's hard to pinpoint one cause of homelessness in Massachusetts, saying it's a mixture of inflation and the overall increase in the cost of living, as well as wealth inequalities, a lack of support services for people to sustain housing, along with a lack of affordable housing, and a lack of mental health support. In addition, McCarthy tells Western Mass News the system is exacerbated from the COVID pandemic, and there has been a significant increase in substance abuse in recent years. McCarthy also notes that it's important we don't forget that migrants and refugees are more than just people taking up beds in hotels and shelters. Many of them are mothers and children. And as a country of immigrants, he asks we try to show more compassion for those just trying to survive.
When we label them like migrants or refugees or immigrants, we sort of compartmentalize them, and that humanity can get lost. And at the end of the day, we're talking about women and children who can't get indoors. We're no longer able to provide and guarantee shelter for children. And whenever we reach that point, regardless of citizenship, regardless of where folks are coming from, I think that we've lost our way.
For a link to resources, head to our website, westernmassnews.com. Just click on the blue as seen on TV button. Reporting live in studio, Reagan Lokri for Western Mass News.
Reagan, thank you for that live report. Tomorrow